Michele from the Scattered Scrapper. Welcome to my channel. Today I am joining Nikki from Nikki's Scrapbooking Adventure here on YouTube and her Scrap Those Goals YouTube hop. I'm really excited to be joining her and thank her for letting me join in. I'm also going to be using this sketch here from Scrap-A-Sketch from Lisa Sikorsky on YouTube, or rather on Facebook. She had a whole scrap-a-thon thing in December, and I'm just now getting to get some scrapping done, so I'm going to be using this sketch here. And I'm going to be using this printout here, some screenshots I took of my YouTube channel getting to 500 subscribers. Thank y'all so much for joining me here on YouTube. It's so exciting. I will be having a little giveaway as a thank you, so stay tuned for that as well. And I have some goals for my scrappy year this coming up year. So I want to use my tools more. I want to finish my 2020 album. I want to develop a few series for YouTube that I have in mind. I need to print all of my 2019 and hopefully 2021 pictures or more. And this year I want to follow along with Michele's Best of Both Worlds monthly kit type thing that she has going on over on her channel here on YouTube. So lots of fun things happening this coming up year. So let's get started.
With this layout, I really took the inspiration of the stars from the sketch and ran with it. I figured with it being a celebration of my 500 subscribers and a new year and some goal setting, I would just really go with it. The papers that I've picked out for this is from a Vicki Boutin collection called Let's Wander. And I really love the colors from it, and even though it's a travel collection, I still think that it works perfectly for celebration. And here I'm trying to determine how wide I want my strips that goes along the top of the layout. And at first I was going to cut them at 2 inches, but I was thinking, well, no, those are going to be too narrow. So I switch it to 2.5 inches. But 2.5 inches times 5 is a little bit bigger than 12 inches. So I'm going to have to go back and trim those down a little. But that's okay. I'll just end up with some kind of like border strips. And here I am trying to decide what color sunglasses I want to use. So I'm kind of looking at it and thinking which one is going to look best with my background. And I get these all trimmed up, and then I go to put them on my background, and that's when I really realize, yeah, you've made a little bit of a mistake here. Oh, goodness. So I'm going to set that aside for a moment and go ahead and trim up my pictures here. And instead of cutting my mat a little bit bigger than my picture, what I do is trim down my pictures about, maybe 1/8 of an inch on each side. And that way I can have my background be a regular 3x4 size. And I just love this paper. The blue and the greens in it, that's right up my alley. Blues and grays and greens, those are my favorite colors. And especially with the wave pattern in it, because I really love the beach too. So I put those on there, and I like that blue being much darker than everything else that I'm using, because that really helps my pictures to show up and pop on my layout. Now, here I finally have these strips in the width they need to be. So I'm going to figure out which way I want them to go, and they are not going to stay this way. And now I need to figure out exactly how long I want them to go. And in the sketch, it looks like they go down about halfway. So I end up deciding to cut mine about 6.5 inches long. And that's going to give me a nice border all the way around when I get them down on my layout. And then I decide that I'm going to rough up the edges a bit to give it some more texture so it won't look quite so flat. And I considered using some black cardstock and matting all of these on it, but I decided against that because I want them to show up, but I don't want them to be too in your face, I think. And if I had outlined it in the black, they would have really shown up. And now I have them exactly where I want them. And let's see. Now I'm just going to go ahead and get these glued down. And since the sketch called for a square photo that is kind of set on a little jaunty angle, I'm trying to keep that in mind for these two pictures, and I'm going to try and put them at a little bit of an angle. And that's why I keep setting them down there to make sure that they're going to fit and everything is going to be seen. I'm not covering up too much of my pattern. I'm just going to line these up here at the top. And I'm not worried really about these being very straight because they are roughed up at the edges, and it's kind of with Vicki Booten's stuff, her papers kind of have that grungy look to them. I'm not worried about them being perfectly straight. And then I'm just going to put my little pictures at a little angle there. And I put my glue on the back of the one on the left too far over, so it didn't even stick. So I had to put glue on the front of the one on the right. And now I'm going to use the stars from this paper. I love this paper. I think this paper right here was probably the one that drew me the most to this collection, because I knew I was wanting to fussy cut out a whole bunch of stars and use them, and I am so excited to be able to finally do that because I've had this for a while. So here I've got all of my stars that I want to use cut out, and here are my goals. And I was thinking about putting them down here in this lower left corner, and I think I could have made it work if I'd have tried to use a smaller star there on the left, but I really didn't like how high up from the corner that it was. I'm not really sure. Looking at it now, I mean, it really looked fine, but at the time, that's not what I wanted. So now I'm just going to kind of move things around and see where I want to put some stars, and I really go kind of crazy with the stars, but that's all right. It's a celebration, so it's like throwing confetti. So I kind of get an idea of how I want to do things, and I move them all off so that I can now use my stencil. And this is the All-Star stencil from Scrapping Reflections, and I just love it. I have two from her shop, and I love them. They're a lot of fun. And I had first thought about using some ink, but I remembered that I have this old container of, it's called, let's see, Texture Luxe from Faber-Castell. And I'm like, oh, gold stars would be perfect. So, and at first I'm a little bit timid in putting it on here, and you kind of see, but don't be timid. Just kind of get over being timid and slap that stuff on there. Don't be afraid. Just do it. I think it comes out better if you just go for it. And I'm not worried about getting a very even coating. I'm not worried about if the stars are completely filled in. I'm really just kind of wanting a sprinkling around the page of the stars. And I thought about not putting any up on my strips up there, but I wanted to make sure they were cohesive, I guess, that it made sense that there were gold stars at the bottom and at the top. I'm just kind of looking around and scattering them about. And trying to keep in mind where I'm putting my pictures too, because I don't want to make a big full star and then cover it all up. So there I double check, and I'm happy with how that is. And then here comes well, let me clean up this little mess right here first, and then we'll take it off and we'll see the reveal. This is a lot of fun. And ta-da! Look how cute that is. I love it. It's so pretty. And I do go and clean my stencil off. This stuff actually dries fairly quickly. But it's not 100%, but that's okay. I'm just going to keep on going. I did spend a few minutes cleaning off my stencil because I did not want to leave all of that on there. And thankfully this stuff's pretty easy to clean too. But here I'm just going to figure out exactly where I want to put everything. And this little banner just says, P.S. Don't forget to have fun. And I'm going to have that stuck in there with my stars. And here I'm just going to start sticking and plonking. Just wherever I feel like I want to put some stars, I'm just going to stick them down. And I tried to make sure that I had cut out a variety of sizes and a variety of colors. And I'm going to concentrate my stars mostly in 3 places. I mean, since I have the gold stars just kind of sprinkled around everywhere, I figured that these paper ones, the colored ones, could help kind of give me that visual triangle to really focus in on my pictures. But also the fact that my pictures are bright white, or they have a bright white background compared to everything else on the page, that really helps them stand out as well. I didn't plan that. That just kind of happened that way. So I really like this darker star. I like the way that it kind of feels like it grounds everything, but it's just a little bit too big for what I'm going for. So I use this darker blue one instead. And I get these on here. And of course, orange and blue are always beautiful together. They're complementary colors to one another. Probably my favorite color combination. And now I have these little wood veneer stars that came with this collection that I've been wanting to use. And I'm finally able to use them. It's always exciting when you have a supply that you really like but haven't been able to use in a long time. It's fun to finally get them on there. And for some reason, I have a hard time with wood veneer. I don't know why I have a hard time, but I will pull it out and try to put it on pages, and they just won't make it on there. I don't know if I just don't really like wood. I like wood veneer. I just don't know if I like wood veneer on my scrapbook pages. I don't know, but I do like them here. So I'm going to get those in places that I want. And now I'm going through the sticker book. And even though it's full of a lot of travel type phrases and things, I think that there are plenty that I can use to talk about goals in the future, and because life's a journey, right? So you're always moving forward and going somewhere and doing things. So I think that I'm going to find lots of things to use in the sticker book. And my journaling spot, the title on it said packing list. And well, I guess we could run with the theme of packing our goals up and getting ready to go into the new year. That's not what I wanted to do. So I just covered that up with that label and making plans sticker. So I think that kind of worked out better. And then here I'm just sprinkling some words around the page, and one of them says document, one of them says take note, and then the one I just put at the top there says take the photos. Because we're going to take the photos in the new year. And I really thought about using this camera, but it was a little bit too big. So I decided not to. If it had been smaller, I would have probably tucked it in with the larger star collection. Or not collection, but cluster. There on the bottom right corner there of my pictures. But that's the only thing about Vicki Boutin's ephemera collections. Her die cuts are ginormous. So sometimes I think I have to start with the die cuts of hers that I want to use and kind of build pages around them. But I just love them. I love her style. So I just got to figure out how to incorporate them more into mine. And here I'm using an old Amy Tan thicker set, and I'm going to title this one To Be Continued. I thought that would be a really cute title to put on here because it's talking about stuff that's coming up, so it's to be continued. And then I'm trying to figure out how I want to place it, and I decided to go ahead and put it down here at the bottom. My layout ends up, I don't know if you would call it bottom heavy, but I have most of the visual interest in the bottom 2/3. And I decided to leave the pattern paper strips at the top pretty much empty, except for their patterns and the colors from them. Because there is so much going on with the gold stars and my other stars and everything, I figured that space at the top would be a place for your eye to rest. Even though it's full of color and pattern, it's just not quite as chaotic looking as the bottom part. So that was kind of my thought process in that. In putting the title on the bottom. And now I'm just going to go ahead and glue down my stars. These little wood veneer stars are so pretty. I just love them. And I like how they have the edges already, they're darkened. I guess it was when they were cut, maybe. The laser burned the wood, but I like that. Helps them, I think, stand out. And I'm just going to use my quick dry glue here, the Scotch tacky glue. And I think it does a good job once it's dry and the stars don't stick to my finger. It does really well there. And then I'm like, because the colors, even though some of them are bright, overall it's kind of muted. So I was feeling like the edges of my layout were kind of bleeding off or fading away or something. So I decided to go ahead and back my layout on this black cardstock. So kind of the concept I had earlier about maybe backing my strips there in the black, I didn't like that, but putting the entire layout with a black border around it, really, I think that's like the cherry on top. It really helps everything really stand out. And I'm trying to be mindful of my stars that aren't dry yet, but really this stuff dries pretty quick. So unless it's a pretty thick layer, they're already dry, really, or dry enough. And then here I was just measuring to see, do I really need to get this bottom trimmed? And I'm like, yeah, I probably could have finagled it, but it would be better to go ahead and trim that bottom edge. And then I'm just going to glue that down. I don't know why this is like the last thing I think to do instead of one of the first things that I think to do, to make it a lot easier. But that's going to do it for me. I'm really happy with how that turned out, and I think it looks really festive and fun. I hope y'all have enjoyed this video. If you have, please give it a like and subscribe. And I hope everyone has a wonderful, happy new year. Make sure you check out everyone in the hop, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.